Good morning everyone and welcome to Wild Safari Live here in the famous Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves in Sabi Sand, South Africa. My name's Hayden Turner, I'm with VM on camera and welcome aboard this morning on one of the most incredible journeys, broadcasting live from South Africa right to your very computer or living room, wherever you are. You're on board our vehicle today and it's great to have you on board. If you're a regular participant with us, fantastic, welcome back. Or if you're a newcomer, this is going to be a really great journey for you this morning. Now, it's a bit overcast today, a lot cooler than it was yesterday. I think it's sort of in the early teens in degrees. I'll get the temperatures for you later on and tell you, but that's great for us because predators actually spend a lot more time being active when it's in the cooler times. Just to give you a bit of a recap what happened last night, we left Q, the male leopard, up the top of the hill here with a kudu carcass. Now that kudu carcass was about 4 times his body weight. He wasn't going to be able to hoist that up a tree. He wasn't able to going to take it anywhere. So he ate as much as he possibly could because inevitably there was going to be some friends arriving. Well, not really friends, but these guys behind me. Have a look at this. There's some very full bellies there. This hyena clan is about 500 to 700 metres away from where that kill was last night, and we turned up at this den site this morning. The animals are just looking. One of the cubs has just walked off. He's coming back now, and we turned up this morning, and they quickly dragged the remainder of a carcass, whether it was the kudu or not, but I'm suspecting that it was, down into the hole. So they've had a full belly. They've got a full belly of food. They've brought the remainder back for the cubs, and they're just keeping a close eye on what's going on. There's 2 other cubs around somewhere, which I'm sure will show their faces very soon. We've got this little guy here that is very playful at the moment and messing about with sticks and playing with his mum and so on. So they're just milling about at the moment. But the story unfolds, and Q obviously had his meal last night, and when we got to him, he was still feeding, and we then sat with him for a while until he couldn't eat any more. He then laid down and tried to digest his food, and that's where we left him. So what would have happened is the scent of that carcass, as that scent matured, and I use that in a polite way because it was starting to, it wasn't that an offensive smell, but it was a smell much stronger than you would think. In a few sort of hours, maybe 6 or 7 hours, it became quite apparent that there was a kill there. So these hyena would have picked up on that scent very quickly. Lovely bit of behaviour going here. Beautiful stuff. So it's an interesting situation. The one on the left-hand side there, the adult, if VM just comes across, I think, and I'm only having a guess here because I don't know this clan very well, but is potentially the adults or the son of the female on the right. Female on the right has a very heavy belly. She's eaten so much food. This little guy's coming up really close to us now, VM. Right, passing in front of the car. Having a little bit of an investigation. So I'm sorry I chop and change subjects here, folks, but it's just working with whatever the animal's behaviour is doing. And we really want to... We tried to position our vehicle before in a way that we could see the animals at all times, but I'm not sure where he's gone. He's so close to the vehicle, he's gone around the other side there. He'll pop his head out at any minute. But I'm not sure of exactly who's who in this clan, because there was a couple of other adult members as well around before, but those pups really do are very high up the pecking order when it comes to care and getting first dibs on things. Here he is. There's he right at the front of the vehicle, just sticking his nose above the vehicle there. Just see him. He's just about to look over the top. But there's 3 of these little guys, and they're really playful when they're here. There's 2 somewhere else over here. We're not going to sort of chase them around the bush or anything like that. We just sit quietly. We sit in a position where we can just observe and let them dictate the moves and move around us. But these females are lying down. I'm sorry, the male and I'm not sure. It's definitely a female, the one closest to us. And I do recognise those ear notches on her right ear from. She had that very distinct one that they would have gotten in either fights or altercations, and they were at another den site a long time back, maybe 7 or 8 months ago, and they will move den sites as well. You can see very, very full milk glands there, so the pups are still suckling a bit, but she's got a full belly, and her pups actually will probably have a higher ranking than that other individual there. So that's why the mother got up and sort of walked over. It's such a complex social structure with hyena. You really have to sit with one clan and figure out who's related to who, and it is a very, very tricky situation just to turn up and try and figure it out. But you know what, with enough time and enough exposure to the animals, you start to learn, you start to see. You'll see what happens when this youngster goes over there. So too, all these vocalizations and growls and copy. We've got a question from Misha in Washington. Misha, welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. And Misha is wanting to know whether we do any hand feeding of hyena here, because there's other parts of Africa that she knows that they do. Misha, we would never under any circumstances feed an animal here. Just to let you know, this is a wildlife reserve that the balance has to be perfectly managed by the animals themselves, because this area is connected to Kruger National Park and the fences were taken down some time ago. There's a very, very good passageway and corridor for these animals to traverse. So there's no need whatsoever. As soon as man or humans start to intervene with things like that, Misha, you will get problems. You'll get problems that they'll probably end up feeding them things that they shouldn't be being fed. And the second thing is that you're starting to break down that human-animal barrier that is absolutely necessary so accidents don't occur. Once you start to have an animal that gets conditioned to human beings and doesn't have that invisible fear barrier, you start to get accidents happening, either with tourists, either with staff that work in lodges, or potentially employees of out on game drives or whatever it may be.
but it's completely against the ethics and morals of all the good private reserves and national parks, completely against the rules to feed any animal. So hopefully that answers your question, Misha, and it's for a very, very good reason. As soon as you break down that barrier, you're starting to put the animal's life in danger by really just taking that chance that it could get into a conflict situation with a human, and then humans will have to intervene in another way, which is sadly happening all over the world. Animals in the wild, Misha, I think I just want to add a little bit more to this, because it's a subject very close to my heart. Animals look after themselves, and it's only when humans come into contact with animals that we have problems, and we really do have to manage that. We are responsible for having good conduct and good morals and good ethics, and I really, really push that home, that that's the way we should behave when we're in national parks or private reserves. And no matter who wants to get a photograph, or who wants to get a picture, or who wants to get closer or whatever, the animals' lives and the animals' welfare comes first and foremost always. So hopefully that's answered your question, Misha. Do we feed these in a hyena or anywhere on the reserve? The answer is a categorical no, and it will never happen, just for those reasons that I mentioned. But really interesting question, Misha, and thank you very, very much. So we've got a nice question from Maggie in Vancouver, but I do have to say this is quite a beautiful picture. This little guy, this little cub is like lying there looking absolutely fantastic, isn't he? Maggie in Vancouver has just brought up a really good point. I did notice it before myself, Maggie, and I'll try and get VM to find some pictures of it. You've noticed that one of the cubs has got a little scrape or a little abrasion to his his right, I think it is, hind quarter, and it's a little tiny graze or something like that. He might have had either an altercation with one of his brothers or sisters, which definitely does happen, or he might have just had an injury out whilst having a bit of a play, but it does look like a little bit of a bite or something like that. We'll try and get a picture of it. Not sure if it's this one up here, VM, or I think this might be this little guy lying down, but
the bigger one.
It's the bigger one there, is it? So the one up at the stick there chewing, he's, we'll try and get some images of it now for you. I think it'll heal itself, Maggie. I don't think it's anything to worry about. These animals are incredibly tough, and I think it's just a very, very minor superficial wound that will heal, no problems. But thank you for your question, Maggie, and they go through some pretty tough times, these little cubs. It's interesting, even in when they're only hours old in the den, and their mother's given birth to them, they will start to compete ferociously for dominance. It's absolutely extraordinary what happens in that den with hyena, to the point where one hyena pup can take another one's life at a very, very early age down there, to compete for dominance and compete for being the successful cub that's raised. And sometimes it's quite difficult for the adult, if the pups have gone down into a smaller den site, maybe another tunnel that hasn't been dug out as much as the other ones, and the mother can't get down. there's pretty much nothing she can do except let them fight it out down there. There's been great data collected on that. Here's another little pup coming out of the den. Excuse me. So if you've got any questions, folks, please, you can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can send us an email at questions@WildEarth.tv, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. It's a very complex social system, as I said, and if I don't know the answer, I'll definitely ask everyone out there to give me a hand, because I'm learning constantly about hyena. The more time you spend with them, the more things you learn about them, and particularly this clan. The behavioural side of things, one can learn and do lots of reading and watching on, but the structure of particular clans, and as I'm not super familiar with this clan, I do think the female is the same female I saw 7 months ago, but these puppies weren't here when I was here 7 months ago. So any information that anyone has on this clan would be fantastic. Always helps me out, and that's what Wild Safari Live's all about, helping each other out, being on this journey together, and sharing as much information we can about these wonderful creatures. Yeah, that's a little guy there. It's got a little wound on his back there. VM's got it right in shot there. We'll try and get it again. Maggie, it does look very superficial. I think it'll be fine. So I think the sort of the theory is that these two little pups that we can see together here are the matriarch's pups. They belong to the sister of potentially the matriarch, the alpha female. Sorry, is probably a term that we should use there. And then the one with the little wound on his, just up there, on his tail, on his hindquarters, is the matriarch's pup, or the alpha female's pup. So it's quite a complex thing. Sometimes they will do this communal den situation, and other times there's a communal den situation that occurs, but there's no communal care, so to speak. So it's not like one mum's going to look after the other pups, but they might share a den, and they often change from den to den if the parasitic infestation in the den gets too high. So if parasites become unbearable down in that den, ticks and other things, fleas and things, they will actually move dens and wait for that parasitic infestation to die out, and then potentially go back to another den and move around. But it just depends on so many different factors. These animals are very habituated to us. We've been coming here on and off for many moons, and as you can see, they're in no way are they affected by our presence. They're completely relaxed. The pups are playing, the parents or the adults are just lying there resting, and it's a very, very nice situation to be in, to be able to watch this behaviour. So this is potentially the mother, I'd say, of those two pups. Excuse me. So we've got a question from Sherry in Ohio about how many sets of teeth do the hyena have. Well, they're actually born with milk teeth, Sherry, which is pretty incredible. They don't grow through like some animals do. They're born with milk teeth, and they can use those milk teeth in a very aggressive hold on the back of the neck on one of their rival siblings from a very young age. And then once they lose those milk teeth, they get their next teeth. I'm not sure exactly what time they lose those milk teeth, Jerry, so unfortunately I can't give you that answer, but maybe someone could help me with that. I'm not sure at what age hyena lose their milk teeth, but I know they are born with a pretty good set of milk teeth and can use them ferociously on one of their siblings to assert dominance. So Sherry, hopefully that answers part of your question, and maybe some of our participants could help me on that to find out at what time in a cub's growth do we lose the milk teeth and get our next set. Thank you, Sherry. Fantastic question, because I learned something from this as well. We've got a question from Tamara in Shawnee. Tamara's asking, are the pups old enough to eat meat? They definitely are old enough to eat some meat, but they'd still be suckling, and it varies hugely on parental care and how the pups are. They're weaned. They start. It takes several months. And after about a year, there's these incredible tantrums that occur when the mother won't give them any more milk, and actually embarrassingly funny tantrums, I suppose you could say. When you watch them, they really do throw their toys out of the cot, so to speak, and you find these little cubs, having these tantrums when their mother won't give them any more milk. But yes, they're definitely okay to be eating meat now. You can see the dominance behaviour here of this particular individual in the middle. He's the older one, and he's definitely throwing his weight around at the moment on these two younger ones. So Tamara, so hopefully that answers your question. Are they old enough to eat meat? They definitely are. Some of them were down in the den when we were just starting to go to air this morning, and they were just having a meal down there, because we definitely saw them drag part of the carcass down into the den when we arrived. So that was perfect timing. That we do know that, you know, putting two and two together and only being 500 metres away, Q had that kudu kill. We're pretty sure that's going to be part of that kudu. Liam's doing a fantastic job of tracking these pups at the moment. We might just watch this little bit of play because it's quite fun. They're chasing each other around. But there may be more to what we're watching at the moment as well. That slightly older male to the alpha female might be asserting dominance. It might look like a bit of play, but it could be there could be a little bit more in it. So it's an interesting, probably one of the most interesting social structures of all the carnivores. They're very, very tight knit, but they compete more and cooperate less, I suppose you could say. It's a very, very interesting thing to watch. And once you sit down and watch these clan members interact, they're all a bit quiet at the moment with very, very full bellies of food. But when you see other individuals, particularly adults, come, there's a complete ritualised greeting. The alpha female is in charge, and everyone underneath her will do this incredible sort of begging towards her, and lots of ritualised behaviour as they arrive. And then, but her pups have first and foremost sort of hierarchy in the pecking order. They really do. They're the only ones that will probably go out with her. Other pups, cubs, will fall back and wait by the den, and at about a year they'll probably start to go out with her, and they get first pickings. They're running through the bush up there. It's quite dangerous play, actually. A predator could take them at any point. But you do have a pretty serious force. You've got one of the mothers just on the right. You can still watch the pups, but I'll tell you what's going on with the parents. She's watching carefully what's going on. Yes, my girl. So she's going down, just looking to see if she can get any of that food. There's a little bit of food down in that hole. I'm not sure she's going to bring it out or whether she's going to try and eat it down there. There's either two reasons why she's standing there. A, she can't get down inside that den and the pups have dragged it too far down. Or B, she's just surveying the land at the moment. Billy Joe is asking a question in Florida. Hi Billy Joe, great to have you with us. There's some lovely behaviour going on here at the moment. The pups are really playful and all over the parents. But Billy Joe, your question, is the correct term to refer to the youngsters pups or cubs? And the correct term is cubs. Long debated, but definitely cubs is what you refer hyenas to. It's an interesting one. Hyenas are more cat-like than they are dog-like. So the general consensus scientifically is we've referred to them as cubs. And they are in a family all of their own. Thank you very much, Billy Joe, for your question. It's a question that I often slip up because you'll hear me sometimes say the pups. One would think that it's just because they have a sort of dog-like quality to them, but it's definitely, the terminology is cubs when you're talking about hyena offspring, hyena young. So the other thing is to remember that males don't play any parental role in this, and they're very rarely allowed near the den site. You'll find mothers will often chase them off. The alpha female will often chase them off. And I think we came up here the other night and we saw a male turn up and one of the young cubs take on this male, went into him, started to lay into him and bit him and started to tear into his leg. And this was a young cub of the alpha female, and the male did nothing. It's really, really interesting. Just another vehicle leaving, folks. So males are not tolerated around the den, and the young cubs have the audacity, I suppose is the word, to give them a really, really serious warning to stay away, and the mother will support that, and the males that do arrive would under no circumstances dare to touch that cub, or they'd have the wrath of the alpha female on them, which could end up in a conflict, which then heightens the risk of injury, and it goes on and on and on. So it's very interesting, and you learn more and more the more you watch hyenas, and particularly in this fantastic situation we're in right now. We're very privileged to be here. Excuse me. these females might be closely related as well. Nice thing to excuse me, nice thing to note is that no matter how close they are, they won't cross-suckle either. They will only look after their own young. Complex, interesting, successful hunters and scavengers, and definitely don't deserve the historical sort of tag or persona that they've been given. They are absolutely fantastic animals and play a huge role in the habitat and the ecology of the area. And off they walk. So they might have gone for a little wander. I suppose we should go for a little wander. That was quite a beautiful, beautiful time with those hyena. Very, very complex, and you know, hyena scientists that spend their whole scientific career studying hyena are learning more and more about hyena. All these little tiny intricacies that they have to observe over thousands of hours of data collection. And that's one thing we have to do, folks, as well, is tip our hats to the scientific community of the world that give us all this information that we sort of not take for granted, but we deliver to you. It's all things that we've read or we've heard or we've talked to scientists, and we're re-delivering that information. Some of the things that we may have observed ourselves, of course, in the wilds, but you know, the scientific community we have to take our hats off to them hugely, because there's thousands of hours of hard work. It's this, everyone sort of thinks it's a romantic thing about being out in the African bush, but they sweat it out, they carry their gear into the bush, they sit, they watch for hours and hours and hours, and sometimes there's nothing happening, but they collect their data, they write up their papers or their PhDs or whatever it is, their studies, and they serve that up to us on a platter. We're very, very privileged. So the hats off to the scientific community out there giving us all that beautiful information. You're amazing people. Right, I think we're going to go for a little drive. So I'm just going to have a little look around some of the old haunts here. Easy access. We've got a good thing up our sleeve, and that is this temperature, folks. It's definitely cool enough for predators to be active much later. I like that sometimes. I do love those early morning beautiful sunrises and the heat, of course, but I really enjoy these cooler mornings. Liam just heard an alarm call. An alarm call of an impala down here. Just listening.
It's probably just running.
Yeah. Sometimes the bark of the impala, the alarm call of the impala, if you're driving, I'm just watching our aerial here, folks. Okay, we're good. Say hi-bye to our hyena family or clan. I love that term, clan. It's a really great term. It sounds really prehistoric and natural that these guys live in a clan and they look after each other. Well, they work together as a team. But as I said before, tight-knit, but probably the least cooperative compared to wild dog. When wild dog, they have this incredible submissive begging that is quite over the top sometimes to watch. They would prefer to lessen the risk of injury by this completely over exaggerated begging that they do to each other, whereas these guys will definitely hook into each other. A lot of injuries occur. Sibling rivalry, as I mentioned before, is high, and there's a mortality rate of about 25% actually in sibling rivalry within the den. So you've got a good chance that, I mean, 2 or 3 cubs might be born and only one might survive. It's very, very common. I'm just going to go down this dip here, little tiny dip, but I'm going to head back up on the quarantine and just have a little look around there. I think it's highly unlikely. Sorry, just really, those bumps always get our gear just there. Just rearranging our stuff. Just want to have a little look up on the quarantine area and around. I'm going to turn my game drive radio back on as well. Up, I mean. Got a lovely question from Rita in Joburg. Hello, Rita. Goodness me, I could throw a stone and probably you'd catch it from where we are. Well, not really. But it's great to have you watching here in your home country, and how lucky you are, Rita, to have this magnificent country as your homeland. I feel greatly privileged to be here. Rita, your question is, can I update you on what happened to Q and his kill last night? Well, Rita, we left Q at about 6:30, and he'd had a full belly of food, and he was consuming as much as he possibly could. His consumption was probably accelerated due to the fact that he couldn't get that kill up into a tree because it was just too big. Probably about 3 to 4 times his body weight. So there's no way he could get it up into a kill, up a tree. So he consumed as much as he could. We left him feeding and then came back, and we predicted this, and it's probably not rocket science, but we knew that the hyena at some point would be going to find that. The scent was very, very close, only about 500 meters, about 1,500 feet from where he is, where the hyena were. So we went straight to the hyena den, and I saw a piece of carcass. I couldn't tell what it was because they dragged it into the den just as we got there. But then Peter went up to see where Q was, and there was nothing. So there was a massive feast there. Probably I'd put money on that it was hyena, and they completely finished the carcass, and Q was gone. So Rita, just before you're going to work, I thought you'd give you that update. Have a great day at work, and hopefully you'll be able to catch up with us later on when you come back home tonight. And thanks so much for your question. Just listening to the Game Drive channel, folks. Please excuse me. We've got new radios being implemented right throughout the reserves. So at the moment it's a handheld radio like this, and we just want to listen to what's going on. I turn it down when we're broadcasting most of the time, but just a great thing to get any updates. Stefan, do you copy? Just calling Steph to see what he's up to. Texan, do you copy? I'm just calling up some of the guides, folks, to see if there's any... Morning, Tex. Any updates?
No, negative, no update so far. Was just only that missing car was active out of that looter.
Okay, Tex, thank you for that. We left the hyena and there's no one on lock there.
Okay, copy that, thank you.
Okay, so Tex is one of the guides on Djuma one of the fantastic guides that helps us out so much, as do all the guides for that matter. Amazing, amazing people, bringing you in on a sighting when possible. So I'm just going to have a little look around these roads here. We might go right around this section here, and then we might head down to Viatella Dam and see what we get there. So Chris has just asked on Twitter, hi Chris, great to have you with us, mate. Really nice to have you always. And Chris is asking, you want to know whether we only have one vehicle out? Well, it's very true. Jigger is just having a little bit of work done, and Pete and all the tech crew are just fine-tuning a few little things at the moment. Peter did go out. We were going to cross to him earlier, but there was a little hiccup. And as you can imagine, the vehicles get worked very, very hard on a daily basis. 6 hours a day, both of these vehicles work, and some. We maintain them highly, but you're always going to get in this sort of terrain a tiny little glitch now and again, and that's why we've got this incredible tech team here that do all this work and keep these vehicles going for us. So Pete will be out pretty soon, and I'll give you the heads up on that always. But at the moment, I'm riding solo. So as we're just sort of tootling around here, looking, it's just beautiful colours, folks. Have a look at that, just that sky there, that gorgeous grey sky, and magical bands of grey and all different colours there with the foliage. I find that just as beautiful as an African sky as the ones that we see with beautiful colours and sunsets and things like that. I think that's a really nice contrast. If you've got questions, folks, please feel free to shoot them away to us. You can tweet us on #SafariLive, and you can email us at questions@WildEarthTV. You can ask anything. It doesn't have to be potentially about hyenas now, because we're not with them. It can be about myself, VM, any one of the crew, any questions about the vehicles or general questions, please feel free. We're more than happy to answer them, and that's what we do on a game drive. Normally, people would ask the team, anyone, the guides or anything, questions about themselves. Completely up to you, and we love to hear from you.
I've relocated to quarantine with the number under the tree, just close to where he was yesterday.
Sorry folks, I'm just listening to the radio.
Lex coming. Okay.
Just listening, folks.
Sorry, Lex, I missed which animal that was.
We're just listening to the radio. Lex is on to something. And this is what it's all about. We share this, as I always tell you. I know that a lot of you are going to be out there going, this is fantastic, because we've always wanted to hear what's on the Game Drive channel.
sometimes it's very hard to understand, so you can imagine what we hear in our ear.
Yeah, it is quarantine. Copy that, yeah. Confirm still 7 hours. Another young.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, same place as yesterday, just a little bit further east from where he was.
We've got quarantine.
Copy that, thank you.
Lex, come in for Hayden. Texan, do you copy?
Yeah, steady by.
Texan, just wondering, mate, was that quarantine in the same location as yesterday from Lex?
Yeah, affirmative. I said a little bit more to the east of from where he was last night.
Okay, mate, are you heading that direction now?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Texan. Appreciate that, mate. I'll be on standby for you there. Okay.
Okay, I'll give you guys a call when I get close. I'm at WC.
Copy that, copy. Okay, right, we have a plan. I like it when we have a plan. I also like it when we don't have a plan. So, at the moment, it looks like Q, our male leopard, is at the same location, but a little bit further east. So, Lex has just given us an update there. We're going to make our way there. We're not far from there, and I think we're going to be probably the second vehicle on location. I know there's so many of you out there going, that's fantastic, we just heard the whole conversation, because I've received many a tweet or many an email or a Facebook message from people saying, oh, I wish we could hear the other end of what's going on. And I always explain to people that the only reason we don't have that going is because it's very, very difficult to hear through the microphones if we've got the radio traffic, the radio discussion going on, and these microphones pick it up when we're trying to talk. So we're trying to minimize that confusion by having our earpiece in, but that's the sort of thing we hear through the radio. We hear that constantly. It can be very distracting. You have to try and learn to talk at the same time as hear that in your ear, and it can make your brain go a little bit cuckoo after a while. But we get it, we do it, and we get there in the end. So fantastic. So I did mention questions, of course. Absolutely fantastic if you want to send them through. It's great to talk to you, and that's what Wild Safari Live is all about. Interacting with you live in the African bush, and we really, really love getting any interaction with you that you would like. So also remember, just while we let me think about the best way to go here. Yeah, we'll go down here. I took my jacket off before thinking it was going to warm up a bit, but when you start driving, it's a little bit on the cool side. I'll get the temperatures for you at some point, but it is a little bit cool this morning. Again, great for us. Great for us because predators are going to be a little bit more active and a bit more
active longer, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. And those hyena there in front of us, just there, used to have a den back down over here to my right. So they do move around those dens. And just a reminder as well, we do have 2 fireside chats on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday night, 5:30 till 6 o'clock on our sunrise drives. So really hope you can join us for those. We've got some great things in store, and if you want more information you can go on to the WildEarthTV Facebook page and find out more about what's going on there. We want to get some questions from you, and we want lots of things from you. Always, we want you to be involved. That's what this is all about. You can get more information on our Facebook page there at WildEarthTV. So, some of the best news that I've had this morning, other than that we've found Q again, is that Mr. Pretorius and the jigger are back on the road. They're just pulling out now, and once they're online, and everything's all tickety-boo, I'll cross over to Pete and we can say good morning to him. I'm sure he's really looking forward to saying good morning to you. Lovely little impala herd there, which we'll come back and see. But I just want to get up there and not waste any time away from our leopard, if we can. Yeah, that leopard is, you know what my thoughts are about that leopard. Oh goodness, there's a giraffe there as well. Oh, well, that's really good to know. Right, what we'll do is we'll cross to Pete. I know where that giraffe is. Let's go and see what Pete's up to, and I'll come back to you just now. See you soon.
We're live. Ooh. Guys, my massive apologies. I thought I plugged in, but I see I'm not. But I tell you what, we just got some very exciting news. Sorry, I think this was plugged in there. Thanks, Andrew. Good morning. I'm sure you've had a great morning so far with Hayden. Lots of things happening. The Jigga's up and running again, and we just got a very exciting bit of information, which almost no one knows about yet, so I'm not going to tell you either. Pardon me if I'm going a little bit fast, but I am very excited about what we might see, so I'm going to tell you about it when we see it. My name is Peter Pretorius. Thank you for joining us here in the Lowveld, Sabi Sands Game Reserve at Djuma, and it's going to be an awesome morning. Andrew's behind the camera, and we are live on safari. And as we're just going to learn again shortly, anything can happen. Fantastic activity with those hyenas earlier, and very good news as well that we found out that Q seems to be around still, so that's really cool. He's kept some of that meat, the hyenas took some of it or most of it. Lots of activity in the bush. Guys, maybe if you want to ask something or talk to us a little bit, you can always do so on Twitter, #SafariLive, or you can also send us questions on questions@WildEarthTV. Sorry, apologies if you can hear me, so I'll be busy sorting that out. I'm sure it will be perfect shortly. And I don't want to build this up too much, because sometimes, you know, there's a little surprise in your plan and it doesn't turn out, because after all, we must remember that we are in the wild. Things are happening live as we speak. You know pretty much as I know what's going to happen next, except for this little surprise. But so I don't want to promise anything, because anything can happen, but I wouldn't leave that seat if I was you. I'm particularly excited because, I mean, I've been seeing Djuma quite a few times, that young leopard male, which I refer to as my favorite leopard deer often, because he certainly is my favorite male leopard deer. But I have ultimately one favorite leopard in this area, and one favorite leopard alone. And that's the Queen of Djuma. It would be amazing if we could see her. And maybe even know where she's at. You know, there's been some speculation. She might be pregnant, she might be not. Is she going to have cubs? Is she not? I think we might know more about that as well. So who knows? Let's see what happens. If anything, maybe nothing happens. That's also possible. Although I don't think I've ever done a 3-hour game drive in the bush where nothing happened. Warthogs, little family of them. Guys, but I do want to look around here a little bit and come back to those guys just now. There's some impalas in the background. Each other clearly, and as I said, dangerous to preempt something, but I would be looking around very, very carefully if I was you right now. Running there. Check the other side of this area. We're at sandy patch at the moment, which a lot of great memories thinking back to this area, sandy patch. This is basically this little clearing we can see on our right hand side, looking towards the sort of west, southwest. no, guys, just a bit of chat and talking going on there in with you guys. Wondering if the cameraman sometimes gets a bit seasick when we're traveling fast. Andrew, how are you feeling?
Not at all, eh? Not at all.
You feeling good?
Feeling good.
All right. All good. Look
Sometimes
around
gets a bit
carefully.
cold, but that's about it.
Look around carefully. Somewhere. There's the tracks. Fresh tracks. Oh, yes! Amazing, guys! Wow! Unbelievable. Thank you guys for leaving a couple of tracks on the road there. They were on the road a few minutes ago. And you'll hear me saying they. And let me show you why we're saying they. Let me find a better place here. Amazing. Whoa, this is even better. Sorry, I was expecting different leopard. I was expecting Karula. This has now really got me curious. Because that, by the look of things, and I'll confirm it just now, that looks like Shadow to me in the cub. Shadow and the youngster, the one that we getting suggestions for a name for Mother's Day Drive, where we're going to announce it. So guys, if you haven't heard, you can send in suggestions for a name for Shadow's youngster. That looks like two of them to me. It's just a bit of a tricky space to get up here. Luckily we do have the best vehicle in the world for it. Just give me a second, guys, this is amazing. As I said, I was expecting my favorite leopard, called Karula. That looks to me like Shadow. Hold on. I am so in love with these vehicles. Guys, everyone that's worked on them and built them, technical guys, everyone, best vehicle in the world is. I cannot think of a better vehicle in the whole world that I'd rather be driving. If you gave me a Bugatti Veyron, I'd still choose this one. Guys, this is amazing. Yo. Hold on slowly, we're just gonna go around a little bit. Shadow and her young cub, he's 7 going on 8 months. This is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Let the game drives know.
1, 2.
Sorry guys, we are using a handheld at the moment, just to explain. All stations, update, we have Shadow and Mampimpan, Moonclear visual, just a little bit east from Sandy Patch. As I mentioned just now, keep in mind we are building up to picking a, let's call it a Wild Earth name for this cub. That's the mother, Shadow. I know there's been suggestions already, and we're going to reveal the name Sunday during the fireside chat. Just something I want to drop in there, and I don't actually know the name for it. I will find out still, but very interesting. The other day when we saw them, we've been so lucky. I mean, this is not even, 4 days later, and we're seeing them again. That time that we saw them, they had killed, apart from the food that they were eating, that was steenbok, I think it was, they had also killed a serval, which is very, very rare, and to have seen it, or not the kill, but the serval carcass is something that might be worthwhile remembering. Oh, happy days for these leopard. Perfect weather for leopard this morning. Nice and cool. Nice place to rest. Guys, I just want to give me 2 seconds. I want to tell you everything about these cats again, but I just want to make sure the game drives know and that I can switch my radio off because it's beeping a bit. Guys, just update again. Shadow and Mampimpan, Lalapanji and Sinya, very close to Sandy Patch, just to the east. My radio will be off, but you can just pull in. You will see me from Gauri, from Boitela access. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, the original news I had, I thought this was going to be Karula, because we're sort of in Karula's area now. Karula, funny enough, is you could say the grandmother to this little guy we're looking at now, because he's the cub of Shadow, the female that's obviously lying to the left here, and she's the daughter of Karula. So a little bit of a family history here as well. For me, this is now a fourth generation, if you go back all the way to the lineage of Safari. Safari is Karula's mother again. All of the females I just mentioned, Safari, her daughter Karula, her daughter Shadow, who we're sitting with, they've all grown up in this area, were born here, grew up here, and great to see her back in the area. This is also her first cub that she's raising successfully so far. Obviously keeping in mind there's a certain amount of skill with raising any young anything, whether it's a leopard or a human or a bird. But a lot of skill involved, but also a little bit of luck, and very excited to see what happens with this young guy over the next few months, and well, next year and a half or so, up to about 2 years at least, he will stay around the area still. Now he's at an age now where she will be starting to teach him more and more about hunting and those kind of activities as well. Up to now he would have been mostly hidden away, and then once she's made a kill, she would go fetch him and then hide him again a few days later, normally at a waterhole. That's what Karula always did. But more and more often now you will actually see these two moving around together, because she will be taking him along to learn the ways of the wild. Sometimes joining her on the hunt. Also, she might hide him close to where she's hunting. There's some impala not far from here. Those warthogs we saw as well. If she catches something small enough that she can easily sort of handle it without killing it, she will even bring it back to him and then let it go so that he can practice that as well. So it's a real sort of learning curve the next 18 months in terms of hunting. There she is, look at that. Oh, she's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful cat.